The Color of Your Eyes, written by Blackcatsassin, read by gutterratt1213. Chapter 5. Car. I left my room and only brought with me my valuables. I put on my leather jacket and went downstairs, only to see Phil already parked in front of the motel. I passed by Lilly, who shot a dirty look to Phil, who either ignored her or didn't notice her look. He grinned when he saw me. "Leah?" he asked, pulling up his sunglasses. I nodded shyly. "Who would have thought my savior would be this beautiful?" he asked, and Phil pulled me into a hug before I could stop him. I was going to push him away, to tell him off, when something inside me broke, and I realized that I could really use a hug right now. I had been very lonely and sad these past few days, and missing Jake really didn't make things easier. I didn't burst out crying when I buried my face into Phil's chest, but I couldn't help myself to hug him back. To me, it was not an intimate hug, but more like the hug of a lost child who was finally able to see a familiar face. Phil seemed to sense something was not right, so he just stood there and rubbed my back until I was able to calm down. There, he said, his voice sounding gentler and softer now than his usual flirty self. I looked at him, a bit teary-eyed. Phil smiled and patted my head. "You seem to be in a bit of a rough shape. How about we talk a bit after your visit at the police station?" Phil asked. I could only nod. I wasn't aware that I could use some company right now. It didn't help that I had no friends, and I wasn't really close with my family anymore. Sure, we'd talk and see each other from time to time, but I've never really been truly part of their lives. The group from Duskwood and Jake were the closest people I've had in a very long time. Maybe that was the reason why I felt extra bitter right now. Phil opened the door for me, and I entered his car. His car was an Audi, one of my favorite cars, and everything was shiny and clean inside. I couldn't help but to admire the interior. Phil got in and caught my glances. "You like it, huh?" he smiled. "Yeah, it's really nice," I smiled back. "You must have worked really hard for it." "I did," he said as he was starting the car. "One of the first things I bought after running the Aurora. I had to save up money for at least 3 years. I smiled and leaned back, enjoying the sound of the engine, when my eyes caught Lilly staring at me. I looked away, unable to define the look she gave me. Maybe she thinks now that I'm one of Phil's countless conquests. Whatever, I don't care. I'm going to be gone in a couple days anyway. Phil was silent the entire time. He was a very skilled driver, and I wasn't surprised that we reached the police station safe and sound, though I could have also walked the distance myself. I didn't know why he insisted on bringing me here. "I will wait for you. You understand I'm not keen on going back in," he joked. I closed the door, then peeked inside the car. "Thank you, Phil," I smiled widely. Phil looked at me a little speechless. Then he grinned. "How about you thank me with a kiss?" He leaned closer, but I stepped back to turn down his advances. He chuckled as I stomped off.